Welcome back and good evening. If you've just joined us, this is Africa News Network First Fast Live with me, Cindy Mabi. And the three-day ANC Stalwarts conference kicked off in Johannesburg today. The ANC has distanced itself from the National Consultative Conference being hosted by the veterans and stalwarts. The three-day conference aims to take stock of the state of the organization. The conference is attended by some ANC leaders and members of civil society. Several speakers have lashed out at the current leadership of the ANC. However, ANC Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte says any decision taken in the Veterans Conference will not be on behalf of the party. Meanwhile, the parties involved in the conference and issues discussed there raise questions about the veterans' motive.
You know, I attended the NEC meeting a few days ago, and there was no decision in the NEC that we should not participate in this consultative conference. There are a good half a dozen NEC members who are here, and we are under no instruction not to be here. We just have to understand that this consultative conference doesn't replace or even attempt to replace our national conference. So I don't quite know where those concerns emanate from. I think we should be participating, we should be engaging with civil society. That's what we've done throughout the decades. That's been our strength. And to run away from it means that we stop listening to people, stop engaging with people. And that's not the ANC that we joined. That's not the ANC we know.
And here are the reasons why the veterans cannot be dismissed outright. Several leaders have strong anti-apartheid struggle credentials and contributed to the party. The veterans' alienation will set a bad precedent for the organization that has special place for elders. And the veterans' inclusion in the ANC processes will strengthen the party and widen its voter base.
I don't think we're talking about the conference here. All these people are saying we want to restore the dignity of the ANC, we want to restore the values of the ANC, we want to make sure that the ANC is the glorious movement that we know. It has nothing to do with the policy conference. The upcoming conference is, one, to endorse the policy conference that has already taken place, and two, to have an election. This is happening at the same time as all others have been happening. The MKMVA had its conference. Nobody asked whether or not it would derail the conference. BGMs are continuing. Nobody asked if it was going to derail the conference. Provinces are meeting. They're having their provincial conferences. Nobody is worried about whether it will derail the conference. These are people who genuinely care for the ANC.
ANC members must deal with the challenges and eventually correct what they see is wrong and deal with the challenges that the organization may be facing. So it's not new and it's not going to be only this time. There'll always be times when challenges seem more than at other times. But the ANC is going to be 105 years. It has gone through those phases, and even this one will pass, it will be corrected, and will move forward.
ANC Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte made it clear that the party has not sanctioned the three-day conference.
He has made it very clear that this is not an ANC-sanctioned conference. The ANC is not supportive of ANC members who take matters outside of the organization to discuss them and discuss the ANC outside of itself. ANC branches or individuals who are attending would certainly not be attending on any mandate given to them by the ANC itself, but it must be made very, very clear that this is not an ANC-sanctioned meeting, and we wish that they understand that whatever decisions they make, they are not making on behalf of our organization, because those are decisions we're making outside of the structures of the ANC.
And here are some of the key questions that arise from this conference. Does this gathering have any legitimacy without participation from the grassroots? In other words, the ANC branches. And can non-ANC structures with clear anti-Zuma agenda and bias be expected to positively contribute to the conference? And is it appropriate for a few ANC leaders to attend the conference when the party has distanced itself from it? And was it a mistake made by the Stalwarts by not agreeing to hold a consultative conference along with a policy conference? And is it even possible for the real ANC to implement the resolutions of the consultative conference? To answer these and other questions, we have Carl Niehaus, MKMVA NEC member, Tsepo Khadima, political analyst, Repili Tsotetsi as a political commentator, and Dr. Faisal Randera, ANC Stalwart, who will hopefully join us on the line. Good evening to you, gentlemen, and thanks so much for joining us. Let's just start there in terms of where the Stalwarts find themselves in this consultative process, or wanting to engage the ANC to self-correct and restore the organization to its former glory.
Well, Cindy, I think the important thing to understand is exactly what Comrade Jesse Duarte said, and that this is not an ANC-sanctioned conference. It is a conference by individuals acting outside the sanction of the African National Congress. This matter was discussed at the ANC-NEC, I understand, and at the NEC, yes, Derek Hanekom is trying to play games with words by saying that they were not instructed to attend. But at the NEC, it was made crystal clear to anyone who wanted to hear and who wanted to understand that this is not an ANC conference. And therefore, the people who are there act as individuals, not as ANC members, and they incorrectly are using ANC colors and the ANC logo, which they should not be allowed to use.
So you're saying that these are not the ANC vanguards by virtue of their struggle credentials and sacrifices they've made towards the party, and if Minister Lindiwe Sisulu's anything to go by saying there are various other platforms where discussions about the elective conference, etc., or slates are being done, why then are you not legitimizing the Stalwarts conference or request for a consultative
conference? Well, Cindy,
conference?
I'm not questioning the fact that there are people and comrades at this conference, which is not an ANC conference, who have struggle credentials. That is fine. But the thing that concerns me is that members of the ANC who have struggle credentials should understand the whole issue of ANC discipline and central ANC democracy. They are not understanding it by attending this conference. They are not participating as ANC members. They are participating as individuals. This conference is not a conference of the African National Congress. And anyone who tries to create the impression that it is a conference of the African National Congress is acting with ill discipline.
But is it not
sad.
in the interest of the African National Congress to also include, as you were rightfully saying, that these are members in high standing, if you will, or in good standing within the party? Well, some would probably be serving, or whatever else they may have contributed, that it's not too much to ask to have them around a table and have dialogue.
But of course, we have dialogued with these members. You will remember that there had been many engagements with the veterans, the so-called 101. And in fact, on the basis of those engagements, the African National Congress, NEC, decided to extend the National Policy Conference by 2 days in order to have a further inclusive consultative engagement. But the veterans decided not to participate there. So the reality is that there was a forum created for them, but because the forum didn't suit them, because it didn't suit their particular agenda, they didn't participate there, and now they went and created what can only be called a renegade conference outside the structures of the African National Congress.
But Khadima, you'd also agree that the ANC is sending mixed signals. If ANC top brass are attending the 101 Stalwarts consultative conference, does that not endorse or legitimize their choice of platform?
Yeah, I think if anything, it's bringing the party into disrepute, for it is untenable for senior leaders of the African National Congress with struggle credentials to go and accord a gathering of persons which goes under the guise that it represents an ANC, and even use the name ANC when it's absolutely not, it's not provided for anywhere else in the constitution of the ANC. And in fact, that is very fundamental, that if you believe that the constitution is what will guide and give direction to how the affairs of the party, in this case the ANC, are to be conducted, you have to confine yourself within the constitution. So one has to wonder as to, well, what exactly she is to be deducted from a group of persons who claim that, look, they have got impeccable struggle credentials and that they are veterans of the ANC, so self-styled, and yet they go and overlook the basic fundamental, elementary issues. But here we have to understand this. You know, in leadership, you cannot expect to receive that which you fail yourself to give to others. So if you fail to accord others and those that are in position that respect, and to understand that there is a decorum and there are processes in which you function under, it is impossible for you then to, in return, expect that. So I don't know this grouping of persons, how it can legitimately hold cause to expect respect, to expect that they should actually be taken seriously when they themselves have flouted the very constitution of the organization that they claim that they have dedicated all their lives to. So if anything, I think they have already made an untenable position. They only aggravated it. And I'm one of the people that held course right from the beginning, that in fact the ANC's National Executive Committee erred, and I believe that point I made has been vindicated when they, in the first place, accorded this group of persons a seat at the table. Because when they did now kowtow and accord them a seat at the table, alas, they said, sorry, thank you very much, we're not going to be part of that. So we know the National Policy Conference, which had set aside 2 days to have the so-called consultative conference, ended up not happening. Yet the people who demanded it are the ones that in the end said, look, sorry, no, but sorry, thank you. Now, they are meeting. The question that has to be asked is that really, if you got, these persons that are supposed to know better, what exactly is the expected outcome after they have gathered for 3 days? And that, whatever that they resolve on, how exactly do they hope to legally or constitutionally process whatever resolutions they take within the African National Congress structures? And that itself, I think, already it should show everybody else that perhaps maybe the people who will benefit from this gathering is the conference organizers, because hopefully they are being paid for it.
And Retso, just what do you make out of it? And especially if you see former ANC leaders and the other associations that the 101 Stalwarts have, Agri-SA, Chamber of Mines, Section 27, etc., as civic organizations that are supporting this consultative conference. What, in your view, can we surmise from this?
Well, what I will say is that actually its base in itself is not at the right platform. Let me put it like this. As my friend here has mentioned about the policy conference, if you read the Rule 7.7, what is the veteran supposed to do within the movement? Supposed to identify what the ANC is pushing at that point in time. It has to combat any propaganda which people may come up with. Because to be a veteran, you are highly respected by this movement, because you've got this 40 years unbroken record within the movement. You know what is expected of you. They need to move amongst the cadres from the branch level up to the NEC level. They've got the power to correct them if they're doing wrong. But if now they'll have to adopt another platform to address the issues of the African National Congress, according to the character of the ANC, which is the Rule 3.7, it says that the principles of the freedom of speech and the free circulation of information shall operate within the African National Congress.
What about the argument that they have essentially exhausted all the internal processes and that they had no joy even at NEC level, warning about the demise of the organization and the degradation of its brand, etc.? Nothing has been done.
Well, Cindy, it's not correct that nothing had been done. They've been engaged. In fact, to the point where my colleague here says, why did you engage some of these people up to this point? But we've done so. In fact, we did the amazing and quite extraordinary thing to extend the policy conference by 2 days. They were not prepared to participate because they are only prepared to participate in events where their particular point of view will prevail. Now, that is not the way democracy works. It is not the way I quite absolutely agree that how a veteran should behave. But let me deal with the issue that you raise if the ANC is sending mixed signals. No, the African National Congress as a party, as an organization, is not sending mixed signals. We have said clearly this conference is not an ANC conference. There are ill-disciplined individuals who happen to also be members of the ANC. Unfortunately, some of them also members of the National Executive, who are behaving in this ill-disciplined manner, attending that conference, and I believe that they should be disciplined for being there. Let me just clarify one thing, because the initial clips that you showed also showed Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was talking about the need to engage. She was talking about the need to talk also to all the various NGOs, etc. But she was not at that conference. She was not there because she's a disciplined member who wants to engage, who engages all the time. In fact, today she was engaging with various organizations, including civil society
but if truth be
organizations
told, Mr.
in
Niehaus, is
Mpumalanga.
that can the ANC afford another splinter party, number one, if the veterans feel so disgruntled that they may walk away from the organization? We've heard some even utter those threats, if you will, that if things do not change, Zuma is not replaced or removed, and issues of corruption, state capture not dealt with, then they essentially will have no alternative.
Well, obviously the ANC does not want a further splinter or another break. The ANC wants unity, but it has to be unity on the basis of organizational discipline. And we cannot allow ourselves to be blackmailed by people who suddenly no longer accept central democracy and accept organizational discipline.
Yeah.
These members are behaving in a manner where they put themselves outside the structures of the ANC. It's not the ANC who's pushing
What
them
does
out.
it do, Rekhadima, though, to the ANC voter base, especially where the 101 still enjoy a lot of support and sympathy? What would this do to the voter
Are
base?
you sure
of
that
those?
they enjoy a lot of support?
Well, are
Or
we
is it
sure
just
that
an
they
impression?
don't? Yeah, are we sure that they actually don't?
I don't know, but
Precisely.
what I can
So,
tell you
yeah, but
is
let's
that the
give,
general
Rekhadima
response,
an
let me
opportunity.
just say that the general response from our branches and also from the members of the African National Congress who were representatives at the National Policy Conference were not to give this particular 101 people the kind of support that they claim that they have. This is a claim they make, and it's not proven in any way.
Fact remains, you still have to be pragmatic in how you deal with veterans or any member of an organization. I don't think any party, for its longevity, would want to see members leave.
No, of course not.
en
And the
masse.
door
So
remains open for them to,
correct. Let's go to
stay
Rekhadima, your
within
view,
the ANC.
and whether the ANC can afford to banish the veterans, so to speak.
My view is that I think the African National Congress has to come to terms with that there is a difference between a desire or a wish and reality or pragmatism. And the reality as it stands right now is that at some point in time, there's going to have to be a unity of purpose and a uniform understanding of what the ANC ideology is and what ANC stands for, and a uniform application of the constitutional practices of the African National Congress. Right now, they are not there. So this group of persons who have self-styled themselves as ANC veterans or stalwarts, 101 or whatever, the reality is they have brought the party into disrepute. Now, should they not have their way? Because it would appear that they are saying our way or the highway. And my own experience in life is that people always take the highway than the other person's way. So in the event that they do not have their way and they break away or participate in the formation of the splinter party, in my opinion is that their political currency is depreciated so much that there's not going to be able to start a party, and particularly with them having been members of the ANC and activists for so many years, to start a new party and say, look, I no longer believe in that which for years I've said, they will be regarded as hypocrites. So if anything, that will just put them into an overdraft position politically. I can see how they will be able to sustain anything of any significance. But I think the ANC is facing difficult times, but these difficult times maybe are necessary. That once and for all, you gotta say, will the real ANC member stand up? Because right now, you are asking questions to say, but who actually is the real ANC member here? But you're going to have to judge them by a particular standard, and that standard, as we stand here today, will have to be the Constitution of the African National Congress, which one would believe from having read it, that it has been amended and updated to ensure that it conforms with the modern day politics, and yet not foregoing the heritage of the African National Congress, which this Stalwarts have been. But what they failed to do today, I think from a public relations point of view, the research, if the ponytails were advising them, should have asked them to look at how many of them actually, their membership is in good and regular standing within the ANC, which branches they come from, and what exactly has constrained them from participating within the branches, because one would expect that within long-term serving members of the African National Congress, that they would understand the principle of the book written by Mzala, cooking rice in the pot. Yeah. So what has constrained them from being able to participate within the structures of the ANC as so constitutionally enshrined in terms of the ANC constitution? So that's the difficulty that they have. So their genuineness and their integrity is unfortunately now found wanting or at question, and more so for having called all of this other group of formations of other what they call civil society, who it is a known fact that they are sworn enemies of the African National Congress. So sleeping with the enemy, I guess, is really what they can be successfully accused of. But I think they should have done well by saying, yes, we are members, still members in good and regular standing, and to have understood that the greatest honor for them would still be an ordinary member of the ANC at the branch level.
What happens now? You asked the question about the objectives of this consultative conference, and with the ANC saying that they divorce themselves of it, they're not even going to consider the resolutions that may come out of that. Is there still an opportunity to bring the elders, or rather the Stalwarts, in the fold of the ANC leading up to the elective conference?
Yeah. You see, I have a problem because why I'm saying I'm concerned about this. Let's look at the structure, the made of the people call themselves veteran. They were past, these people belong to a front. Majority of them, I saw them. These were our leaders during the era of front when we were fighting for the unbanning of the African National Congress. So now I've seen that whole leadership is moved to what is called now this veteran outside the ANC structure, and I'm concerned that those particular tendencies are the ones which are not accepted, because we have agreed ourselves that 1990, when this rightful movement is unbanned, we are going to dissolve it. We won't have a touch of it. So I'm shocked today to see that these current veterans, there's not much of the people who are coming from exile, or the people whom we fight for to be released in 1990. It's not much of that. Now I'm asking myself, why are they pursuing that particular route? Because that route in itself, it does not gel well with what the ANC believes in.
Yeah, but in good faith, is the ANC even willing, or should the ANC be obliged to lend an ear to the resolutions, at least, that the Stalwarts would have made, and take the good, or apply whatever may put the organization back on track?
Well, Cindy, I think that the problem that we're faced with is that officially we cannot take these resolutions and deal with them as if they are taken by a structure or a conference that is sanctioned by the ANC. But the individual members of the ANC can, of course, raise these issues. And that is exactly the point that we've made throughout. Make use of the branch structures, make use of the engagements that the National Executive Committee of the ANC was prepared to the point of actually bending over backwards to afford these particular groups and the 101 veterans. But the thing that we cannot allow, and that what we won't allow, is for the basic party structure, for the discipline of the African National Congress to be broken, and for people to think that they can determine What must be decided for the African National Congress at structures and at conferences which is outside the fundamental structures and organization of the ANC. So, yes, you ask me about unity. We want unity, absolutely. But the call must always be unity within the organizational structures of the ANC as determined by the ANC Constitution. And in fact, tonight, I can also make a call to those veterans, any of one of them listening and watching this program. Come into the structures of the ANC, behave like disciplined members, and your voice will most definitely be heard.
I mean, just very briefly, Trevor Manuel was, waxed lyrical the other day about how the ANC has forgone its traditions and how the constitution currently is not being observed. Today, he's the one who is leading a cold front. The question is that, is the ANC going to get any shivers? I doubt.
All right, we're going to leave it on that parable there, Mr. Khadima. Thanks indeed. I'm sorry, Commissar, we have to go. That's Carl Niehaus, MKMVA, NEC member, Tsepo Khadima, political analyst, and Repili Zodezi, political commentator, joining us in studio. Much appreciated. Up next, the ANC decides with Mfundo Mabalane. Do stay tuned.